This review has been approved by Lord Carnage. Banished from Earth Classic Game Room broadcasts from the intergalactic space arcade on its never-ending mission to review everything. It's the mightiest controller that I've ever seen. 2 massive joysticks, around 40 buttons, and pedals. It's the controller for Steel Battalion on the original Xbox, released in 2002. A controller that puts all other controllers to shame. It's a controller so massive I had to break out another table just to use it. This thing dwarfs the X-Arcade tank stick. Sure, the tank stick is heavier, but it doesn't have pedals. Steel Battalion does. This reminds me of my years playing MechWarrior. Back in the early 90s. Love that game. Except this is a whole hell of a lot bigger. Hey, what's this?
Oscar 3 here. I read you, Argus.
Shut up! This controller is absolutely ridiculous, but that's exactly what you want when you're piloting a giant robot and stomping on things, which is what you do in Steel Battalion. But be forewarned, it barely fits into the intergalactic space arcade, and we have lots of room, so it's most likely going to completely dominate your dorm room. You're a waste of giant robotic resources. And you know how you just got that new apartment with your significant other? How sweet! They can sleep outside, make room for this thing. Just look at all the cool things it does when starting your mech. This is an amazing controller that looks and feels the part. It's as if you're really driving a 10-story giant robot destroying things, even when you're not. The only problem is that it's big, expensive, and doesn't seem to work with too many other games. In fact, I think only one other game. Fortunately, Steel Battalion is really good, so once you start playing, it's hard to stop, and you certainly can't go back to playing giant mech games with a measly controller. So really, you might want to avoid this thing. It'll just spoil you for the rest of your life. Nothing will ever be the same. Your car now sucks compared to this. It's not just that it's big and cool, it's that they put so much time into making this thing. It looks like it came straight out of a giant mech. There's nice aesthetic touches and details everywhere. The buttons all light up when you get hit. The joysticks and controllers actually work. And short of maybe a giant cockpit simulator, I can't think of anything that would have complemented Steel Battalion better than this. Although I'm sure it cost a fortune. So, should you buy one of these? Well, not without the game. It originally came packaged with Steel Battalion, and if you buy Steel Battalion, make sure you get the Steel Battalion controller. It's the only thing that will control the game. So is the game any good? Well, I'm working on the full video game review, which you'll be able to see soon on the internet and on the Best of Classic Game Room 15th Anniversary Collection. I'll tell you, it's a good game, but this controller just knocks it out of the park. As long as you have the room for it, do not underestimate how large the Steel Battalion controller is. You might actually have an easier time parking a real mech in your home. So I've got a giant, enormous robot armed with machine guns and missile launchers sized thank you to send to David from Brooklyn, New York. Thank you, David. Thank you for sending the game and this controller, which will now ruin every other controller review for the rest of time because nothing can compare to this. If you're gonna play Steel Battalion, which you should, not only are you going to want the Steel Battalion controller, but you're going to need it. Can I step on him? What's that thing? Dead. That's what it is. It's dead.